How did Bandstand start?
It started in 1952. There were a couple of radio disc jockeys who used to have kids come into their radio studio. And the television station, WFIL, the ABC affiliate in Philadelphia.
This is WFIL TV, Channel 6 in Philadelphia.
Were you working in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I was working in radio.
You'd moved from Utica to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me in terms of my
Major
career.
market.
But the radio station was successful, and the television station had nothing on in the afternoon, so they decided they'd put a couple of disc jockeys on and pattern themselves after the radio set. They tried to hire the radio disc jockeys, couldn't get them, so they assigned two other guys, Bob Horn and Lee Stewart. Lee Stewart was the Muntz television salesman.
Madman Muntz.
Yeah, who also ended up being one of my closer friends in life. But Lee Stewart was the most inept broadcaster you ever met. God bless him, he's gone upstairs now. But Lee, bear with me, you got to admit you weren't great, but he was a colorful guy. And Bob Horn was an experienced professional broadcaster, and they hated each other full out.
They had a co-host.
And they didn't like kids. Unfortunately, that partnership dissolved. Bob Horn stayed with it for 3 more years, got into an awful lot of trouble, not good stuff.
And it was called American Bandstand?
It was called Bandstand. He was fired, and they said, you got to get somebody in there to try to hold this thing together. It was a huge moneymaker. It got 67% of the audience in the old days. And so they hired me, and
You were doing a popular radio disc show?
I was doing the radio version of it.
Oh, I see.
In the
kids coming over?
No, they just called it Bandstand on
no
radio.
dancing.
No, they just tried to, lock them together hip to hip to work off the television.
What did you do with it that made it?
Probably nothing other than I genuinely liked kids. And when I saw that maybe they were going to replace it with, they were going to replace the old English movies they were running on ABC at that time with something new, I said, maybe this is our chance. So I ran up with a kinescope, which is a 16-millimeter film of a television tube, and got "Don't Call Us, We'll Call You" sort of response. And in my youthful naivete, I thought, gee, they like it. For whatever reason, I convinced two guys, Jim Aubrey and Dan Melnick.
Jim Aubrey went on to run CBS.
And Dan Melnick, who's a famous producer, came down to watch it, and Melnick wrote a memo saying, I don't know why, but I think we ought to buy this. They bought it for a 7-week trial. And keep in mind, Larry, in those days, ABC had 67 affiliates. CBS had 150, NBC had 180, whatever. It was huge competition. Within 4 weeks, it went to #1. It can never happen again.
And why?
It was the original reality show. I mean, it was an open window to kids dancing, and the fashions changed, and the music was there.
And you liked the music. Right? Many adults were, while putting down that music.
Oh.
You genuinely like rock.
Well, I grew to like it. I came out of jazz and a rhythm and blues background, primarily. When I walked into this, I had to learn a lot about this amalgam of country music and what was then called, soul, race music.